Sounds like what we think about the movie. Film crickets, chirp 'em out, movie crickets. Chirp 'em out, chirp 'em out, chirp 'em out, chirpin', chirpin', chirpin' out. Film crickets, chirp 'em out, movies.
It's time for the Film Crickets with Jay Fortier, Chris Martineau, and Melanie Howerton. On this week's episode, our good friend Ray Auger joins the Crickets and starts a month-long review of horror films.
Okay, this is really, really scary now.
Starting with the 1984 American slasher film, Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter. Does it stand the test of time? Let's find out. Your Film Crickets are on now.
Hey friends, and welcome to the Film Crickets. It's a podcast about the past where we revisit movies between 1980 and 1999 and decide beyond a shadow of a doubt whether or not these movies stand the test of time. And I am your co-host, Jay Fortier, along with my good friend and co-host, Chris Martineau.
I felt as though we needed an explosion, like the beginning of this movie. Final. Hi guys, it's me. What's up?
Hey, and also my good friend and co-host, Melanie Howerton.
Hey.
Hey. And our special guest back for a week, 1 week ago today. He's back again, Ray Auger. Oh, he doesn't get an explosion?
No, he gets a womp. That's it. Hey Ray, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. Yeah.
Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, man. You know what we're doing today? We're doing Friday the 13th, Part 4, the final chapter. So they said.
All right.
So they said.
So, the weird part about this movie is that, everybody thinks about Jason and the hockey mask. Obviously, it's, he's on the Mount Rushmore of horror. But at this point in the franchise, he's only had the hockey mask for a film and a half. And that's crazy. And then it's the final chapter, and yet we have how many more? 8 plus a TV show, plus a reboot, plus all that stuff.
Actually, TV show had nothing to do with him, which made me it turned me off of watching it. I was like, I don't want to watch this. He's not in it. Yep. See ya.
Yeah, I know. So we got
I feel the same way about 5, by the way.
Yes. Oh God. Yeah, 5. 5. The whodunit where Jason's not in it. That's a good time for everybody.
Oh, that was so fun listening to you guys do that one.
Oh, that's a horrible, horrible movie. But let's talk about a good movie, and that's going to be Friday the 13th, Part 4, the final chapter. So let's go around the horn here. As we usually start out, again, we're going into spooky month. We see Melanie's got her zombies in the back, and we have Jay's got their Stranger Things, and I feel like a zombie, or did last week, and Ray's got his assortment of things. In the back. Oh, look at that.
Oh, Ash.
That's Ash.
Oh, I love that.
I dare say that's groovy. Anyhow, so let's get into it. This movie is fantastic, but it's not for everybody. But I want to go around the horn here. When was the last time you saw this film? Was it in the theater? And how about this? Had you seen any other Friday the 13th before you saw this movie? Or was this your first one? So I'll go around. I'm going to start with Ray because he's thinking. I can see his eyes.
I think I watched them in order, I want to say.
Okay.
My friend had a cassette copy of Friday the 13th one, so I want to say I went in order. And the last time I saw it was probably about a year ago. I binged all of them. And I was going to watch it today in between the game, but I'd have to rent it. I think it's off of streaming, so I'd had to, and I just didn't feel like renting it. And I know the movie well enough.
Yeah.
So I've seen it probably 12.5 times.
All right. Super. Jason, let's go to you next. What's your deal? What's your history?
My history with Friday is we were all at a hotel before we had cable. So it was like a year before we got cable, and it was in the summer. And so we were so excited because cable was kind of like a foreign concept to us, walking up to the TV and changing the channel, that type of thing. 3 networks on VHF, a couple of on UHF.
Who had the antenna that had the dial?
I guess.
Yeah. And you had a little thing. Oh, channel 10 is here, and you had to put it there, and then you had to stand in the right spot of the room if you wanted to get the UHF channels. All right, I'm sorry,
right.
Jay, go ahead.
So No, it's fine. So we were very excited that week, like, in addition to whatever we were doing, it was also looking at the schedule to see what was coming on HBO, and it was so exciting. And Friday Part 2 was on, so we all watched it on like that Saturday night or whatever. And so Part 2 tells all like what happened in Part 1 pretty much in this giant flashback scene. So that kind of got me started. So my first one was with adult Jason, like, being the killer. So, I don't look as fondly at one. I find that to be a little more boring than others just because of the way I was introduced to the series. So it's not like other people might find that sacrilegious. I just look at it like that. And then, but I liked it so much because it was just so much fun. And so I then saw I was like 10 years old, and I saw Part 3 in the theater. My dad took me and my brother and an old friend of my brother's to see Part 3. Unfortunately, it was not in 3D. I was very disappointed. And then 4, my friends and I, thank God they didn't they didn't care. Like, if you wanted to rent a horror movie, they didn't go, "You're too young for this. We won't let you."
Yeah.
We were probably 13 years old, whatever. And just in the summer of '85 and just having a absolute blast. This was like heaven on earth to us, like being a horror movie, especially with, I mean, if you're a horror movie fan, especially a 13-year-old kid or whatever, boom. It was ultra special. So, yeah.
Super. All right. Melanie, what do you got? What's your history with this film and other films in the Friday the 13th franchise?
I just remember being at my grandmother's house. It was really a long time ago. And I remember being really little, and the Friday the 13th Part 1 was on the TV. So I think the first time I ever saw it was Part 1, and it was like on the TV, and I remember thinking, I'm not supposed to be watching this.
Yeah.
And I remember liking it, kind of being freaked out about it. But I remember I liked it, and I think I had, like Jason said, or no, like you said, had watched them in order. No, Ray, you said that, right? You had watched them in order.
Yes.
So I'd watched them in order, and then I really don't remember like when I had seen this movie, but I do have the entire case of all the Friday the 13th DVDs, and I watch them quite frequently, especially if I'm painting something or refinishing something or doing something. It's going to be popped in the DVD player, just like Halloween, because I've seen them so many times. I just want to listen to it in the background so I don't have to watch it because I know what's going on. Yep. And I just want that something in the background. And just as far as the music goes, I was watching it last night, and I was like, this just feels so homey to me. It's like this warm feeling that I get, like meatloaf and mashed potatoes.
Yep. Wow.
And I'm watching certain horror movies. It just makes me feel at home and calm.
See, and you know what? That's the thing. Like, for those of us that like horror movies, it is a point of comfort, and it's so weird because it's a comfort in watching people get machetes in the side of their head and get shot in the face with a nail gun. But for us, it's a release. It doesn't make us psychotic. It doesn't mean I'm going to go do it. It's just a release, right? It's kind of like our confronting death, right? We can live vicariously of our fear of death through other people dying in front of us. That's fake, obviously, right?
Because you know it's not real. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a thrill ride, right? So that what makes even bad horror movies are kind of good, Yeah. All right. So my history with this, again, I think there's a theme going here because I was exposed to Friday the 13th through the Tom Savini documentary Scream Greats. So they had a documentary put out by Fangoria magazine, and it went through all of the works of Tom Savini, who did he's a stud of special makeup effects.
I love him. Yeah.
And I watched that maybe in the 4th or 5th grade, maybe 4th grade. I know I was my parents went away on vacation, and I was stuck in my grandmother's house with pneumonia. Like, I got pneumonia the exact same time that they went away. So I just watched my grandmother was a video pirate. So I just watched it over and over and over again. And so my exposure to Friday the 13th, Part 4, was that documentary. So much so that I thought I saw it, but I never did. I actually never watched the first Jason movie I watched was from finish to end was Jason 10. the one in space,
Wow.
which is
Oh my God.
great, by the way. It's a dark comedy. It's just straight up humor. That's all it is. And then I went back and watched them. And I watched this movie last time, maybe a couple of years ago with my son when he was just getting into horror movies. So we watched The Shining and we watched one. And I knew this one wasn't 5. I knew 5 was basically softcore porn. So, and it is. This one's mildly, it's mostly okay except for some obvious nudity, which is unnecessary. But anyway, so that's where we are with Friday the 13th. Hey, by the way, you mentioned montages before. 2 things I'd like to point out. Pamela Voorhees, Jason's mother, in part 1, she dresses like she's 75 or 80, and she's our age. She's 49.
She looks so old. Yeah.
It's crazy. I don't know. I'm one of those people, and I say to my wife all the time, if you find me wearing, a trucker hat and a members only jacket, you can punch me in the face. It's okay. And if, she's wearing, the most matronly sweater ever in that first one. And what's the deal with these movies? So Jason, and you brought this up before, or it was Melanie, this movie starts with a montage. Part 4 starts with a montage, around a campfire. And it basically gets us up to
Which
speed.
is from part 2.
Yeah.
Oh, they do
Part
that
2
too
is
as
the
well?
guy. Well, no, but part 2.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
Telling the story.
They do that a lot, especially at the beginning, to just sort of hey, just in case, someone dragged you to this, that type of thing,
Okay.
you didn't want to, here's kind of a quick thing. So that guy, I love that speech that guy with the blonde hair, Paul.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's Paul or whatever.
I don't know.
Is from,
I think it's Paul.
yeah, from part 2. He is, I don't want to scare anyone.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you straight about Jace. I love that. It's his tones, phenomenal. I love that story.
Yeah. And
I do too. I love it.
In part 2, the guy jumps out and scares everybody after
right.
he's done talking. But yes, I do love that. So they do that. It seemed for all of them, if not all, many.
But it sets it up with a legit campfire story, which I thought
love
was,
that.
so it's going to set you up oh, this is a classic tale of horror, which it is not because Crispin Glover's in it. So, so let's get into it. I'm going to read the IMDb breakdown. And the other reason I wanted to bring this up, in a moment when I was talking about that opening campfire scene. So we're looking at Friday the 13th, part 4, the final chapter. Came out in 1984, rated R, surprisingly. It comes in at a brisk 91 minutes, which is funny because that campfire story takes 5 of those 91 minutes. This is a brisk movie. The one sentence breakdown, as read by yours truly, after being announced dead and taken to a morgue, Jason Voorhees spontaneously revives, escapes from the hospital, and stalks a group of friends renting a house in the countryside near Crystal Lake. Directed by Joe Zito. Writers are Victor Miller, Ron Cruz, and Martin Kitrosser. Starring Eric Anderson, Judy Aronson, Peter Barton, Kimberly Beck, Tom Everett, all these people so famous. The only Corey Feldman, one of the 2 Corys, Joan Freeman, Lisa Freeman, so on and so on and so on, of basically Jason's debris as he cuts through everyone but 2. So, guys, we're going to start with this movie. First of all, exploding titles. How 80s is that? I mean, this could be a Chuck Norris movie. This could be the beginning of Delta Force. Whoop, boom! And we got a fiery... Nothing explodes in this movie. Ray, am I wrong? I don't think anything explodes
you're right.
in this movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
They were supposed to, though. They changed the script.
What was supposed to explode?
Oh.
Okay, so if I'm remembering right, Corey Feldman was not supposed to be making masks. He was supposed to be some sort of an inventor.
Okay.
And one of the inventions was supposed to be some sort of microwave invention where he was supposed to kill Jason with that. And, that's
Well, killing Jason with a microwave beam sounds silly, as opposed to the rest of the movie, which makes so much sense.
And like this whole part of this was supposed to be like the whole point of this movie was killing Jason off. They didn't want to do it anymore.
Right.
They were like, they brought Tom Savini back to be like, just let us kill this guy off. It was supposed to literally be the final chapter. So
Right.
yeah, he was supposed to be dead, and Tommy was supposed to kill him with some sort of microwave invention.
That's nutty. So they're gonna so basically sticking Jason in a giant microwave oven. Like
Something was supposed to explode or something. I don't know.
like the gremlin in the microwave just turned into like a big pile of goo and a mask. So guys, we start this thing off in a hospital, right? We have an orderly, the orderly that must have been trained from the Halloween 2 school of orderlies.
Yes.
Holy
100%.
smokes. Just absolutely just trying to get with all the nurses. Question though. I don't remember because I was young, but was Jazzercise that erotic back in the day? I'm not sure. Because
It was.
what is happening? Ray, would you care to comment?
Well, as a 13-year-old boy, we didn't have access to porn at all. So it was Jazzercise.
All right.
It was mom's, Jane Fonda VHS tape.
Yeah, okay. And boy, like, these people, like, first of all, in a room with a corpse, they getting all randy, and then he says something. I don't even remember
Randy, do I make you Randy, baby?
No, you're Randy, baby. And suddenly she's just up and out, and then next thing you know, we're in the drug room, and she's forgotten about the whole thing. And I got to tell you something. Can I just say? So we're in the prescription, and we usually don't go scene by scene, but there's so many things in this. So Jason's going to go on his first killing spree out of the hospital, resurrected for no reason. We don't know why. At least we know why in 6. Because he was struck by lightning near lightning bolt near Horseshack. But in this one, for some reason, he's just up and about, just cause he's got business, and he goes and stabs the nurse in the pharmaceutical room. And what made me laugh, and again, this is just me, in the pharmaceutical room, there's already drugs in bottles, but on the wall there's a periodic table, just to make it sciencey. I don't think we need the poster, like a school poster of the periodic table, like, hey, Cletus. I believe that chlorine's a halogen. Like, we don't necessarily need, like, they don't need that. They're not compounded the drugs on site.
They're just reading the labels.
Just reading the labels. You don't need a periodic table. So I have a question. So Jason is now out and about, and what's his motivation besides killing everything to go to not Camp Crystal Lake, but 2 cabins adjacent to? I missed that. Why did he go to the cabin in the woods rented by the 6 weird teenagers and next door to Corey Feldman and his family? Why is he going there? Anyway.
Okay, Ray, you probably have this too. To me, I think, and plus I want to go on the aerobicized thing because I have that on. But because, I mean, it's the whole freaking lake is Camp Crystal Lake. And these are houses off of Camp Crystal Lake. And just like Rob said, is there any new people in the lake? Is there any teenagers? Is there any whatever? Because he's on that lake. He wants to go kill these horny teenagers. Because as we all know, people, if you have sex, you die.
Yeah,
you don't have sex. Yep. You're going to die.
Yep.
These are horny teenagers. They're going to get it. That's where he's seeking out these horny teenagers. Because they're responsible for his death.
Okay.
That's why.
Okay.
What
I
do
think
you
he picked
Ray?
up on their. I think he picked up on their scent,
Okay.
much like a dog knows when another dog is in heat.
Okay.
It was like the fact that they were in heat drew him in the direction they were in. He was going probably to his home, wherever that is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what I respect about the reboot, is he had that basement or that underground layer.
Okay.
That was his home, and he always went back there. Somebody was disturbing that area, so that's when he started fighting or killing. You're right. There's no motivation other than the fact that kids are having sex. Got to kill them.
Yep.
That's it.
All right.
Well, yeah.
And also,
if nobody's nearby his own home, he's not going to sit there and go, lonely Mr. Lonely. He's gonna go, I hear him. It's okay. I can kill him over there. I mean, it doesn't have to be, I don't see any rules. He just
wants to kill somebody. That's the whole point. We need to have a movie. That's why. But also, you know how we were talking about the aerobicized video? There she is.
All right.
Thank you, Jay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that girl right there.
That's actually Jay's
Do you guys
lock
know
screen.
she was in Yeah, she was in Friday the 13th Part 6.
All right.
Really?
They brought her back for Friday the 13th Part 6. Her name was Robbie Morgan.
So our thesis is, and again, for a horror movie made by seemingly progressive people, it has very conservative undertones, right? It's very 80s, very Reagan-esque to say, if you fornicate, you die, right? And that's what Jason is, right? He is a force of nature that comes and eradicates teenagers that aren't behaving. However,
it's classic.
In terms of teenagers, and are these they're 20?
I don't think they're teenagers. 20s.
Yeah, 20s, right? Okay.
That's typical for every 80s movie, though.
Yeah, I know. But guys, they are the most wholesome, horny group of people I've ever seen. They go from wholesome to horny in seconds. The first time we see this group, they're singing driving songs.
Yes.
Like adjacent to 100 bottles of beer on the wall. Who does that? But in the same instant, we're talking about Crispin Glover, wondering if he's a dead fuck, and the other person,
I hate that.
and which he made up on the spot, and like he's saying, ask the computer, and there's no computer. Oh. What computer? What are they talking about? They're wholesome and not wholesome all at the same time. I don't understand this group. Anybody? Help me out.
And this is going to be a theme as we're discussing things. Crispin Glover and his friend, and I don't know his name, but he was in Last American Virgin. And I think that's the only thing I remember him.
The only thing I think he's ever been in. Yeah. Okay,
but he was an asshole. These guys are supposed to be like close friends, and the first thing we see is him calling him a dead fuck in the computer thing. And I think we were supposed to hate these people right from the get-go, so that we weren't concerned when Jason came stomping around. It's like, yeah, take care of that guy. He's a horrible friend.
Right.
Just like I'm Melissa in Part 7. I'm Melissa. You just like, oh my God, just kill her.
So we're not, and I agree, because we don't have any, attachment to these people. In fact, the only attachment we have is to the other family with Corey Feldman, who's adorable. 1,000% adorable. And if you listen closely, he has a real Charlie Brown vibe going. And in fact, I dare say he sounds like Peppermint Patty. He has that same, because the voice of Peppermint Patty's a boy, right? And he has that same, like,
Peppermint Patty's a girl.
No, yeah, but the voice is a boy.
I was like, are we going to have this discussion? Because she's clearly a girl.
No.
I know that, but the voice is a boy. His voice.
What does she really identify as?
Well, hey, you know what? They were progressive. The Peanuts gang, they were progressive.
But anyway, so these teens, like, all right, so whatever, young adults. There's six of them? There's 6. 4, 6?
It usually is.
6. And they go to the cabin because they're going to party. And again, the partying, I don't understand. Like, there has never been a level of comfort where I am going to swing naked on a rope with my friends. There is no friend I have known.
No, I have never understood skinny dipping in movies.
I don't see a problem with that, to be honest with you. I don't get that. I would have done that. I literally would have done that.
Okay, well, but it's not really a guy thing to just let it all I don't know.
Maybe a guy thing for sure, but not a girl thing. A girl would do that for sure.
I gotta say, I love Crispin Glover at that moment, because totally missing the ball, like it's like an absolute batting practice ball, and he goes, "Oh no!" They're like, "Come on in." And he's like, "No, we don't have any suits."
Yeah, no. Guys.
Did you see Teddy's face looking at him when he said that? He was looking at him like, "Are you?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, we're breaking the rule of Jason, by the way, because the hippie who is hitchhiking gets murdered, and she did nothing wrong. She was just
he would have killed anybody, though. The people, see, Scream made rules. They basically, spelled it out for everybody, but it wasn't always following that. It was just more of a theme, because listen, he was going after Jamie Lee Curtis, not him, but Michael was going after Jamie Lee Curtis, and she wasn't fornicating. It didn't matter. They wanted to kill anybody they could kill. It was just, you were going to die,
But I maintain.
Remember the paintballers? Remember the paintballers in 6? They had nothing to do with anything.
Oh my God, you're right. Yeah.
So, but I maintain that maybe it's kind of like, again, and I'm not conservative, but I'm just saying, like, That is Reagan, who is so afraid of hippies. Like, that's that kind of like going through, like, must kill all the hippies.
All right, I got something on the hippie girl.
Okay.
So first of all, why the f- is she wearing clothes from like the 60s and 70s, and why is she holding a sign up that's like peace and whatever?
Yeah.
This is supposed to be like a 84 movie.
84, yep.
Still late to the game. Yeah.
Yep.
Second of all, I have her name down here because I thought she deserved to have at least a freaking name because nobody knows
They call
who
her
she
Banana
is.
Girl, probably.
Yeah, they do. They do.
But no, in the original script, the female hitchhiker was referred to. This is horrible. She was referred to in the original script. They put Fat Girl. That was her name.
That's too
And
bad.
then, like, her name was Bonnie Hellman, and she played that part. And her agents told her, you're not going to want to play this part because they're calling you Fat Girl and there's no lines in it. But she really wanted to play it, so she played it. But again, why was her outfit in the 60s or 70s with the little sign?
Because she's been stuck in the woods since the 70s.
Maybe.
Yeah, she has to be.
She's the only one that doesn't like these people. Excuse me. Sorry. Wait. These people.
All right, while you're soaking, I have something.
Thanks.
Okay.
So much concern.
Did you notice
Mute
that
Chris.
Jason is like killing her at that moment? His hands are normal. And this is a huge timing flaw. So in part three, which was the day before, if you think about it, it was the day before. He's perfectly manicured and he has normal hands. But the very next day, his hands are all gray with long black fingernails.
Yeah.
But Tom Savini, who I'm in love with because he's the best special effects artist ever, those were his hands. So he forgot to put on his makeup.
All right.
So in that one scene, he forgot to put the makeup on and he used his hands. And then, was it Ted White was Jason in this? When you see the rest of Jason, he's got gray kind of hands with a lot of makeup on, latex, all that, and he's got long black fingernails.
I was going to ask you your opinion on the nail work per your line of business.
I don't do nails. I would never do nails.
I apologize.
Don't have
all right.
to do that.
I'm
all skin.
Okay.
Body treatment, skincare, all that.
I apologize. I guess I didn't understand fully. I apologize.
And
I don't think.
November 15th, I'm going to get laser on my face, neck, and chest. So we've been deciding if we should do a movie. I can put my hair in a bun and I'm going to look like we could do, Nightmare on Elm Street because I'll look like a burn victim.
Okay.
If you want. If not, we can just skip that part. But yes,
right.
Or we'll just put a still frame of Melanie smiling, like, and you just hear her voice. How about let's get to the twins, man? The twins that just meet them for the first time, and it's like the clothes are just launching off their bodies.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And just horrible people playing who'd they play? They were playing Crispin Glover, really, weren't they?
Yeah.
Bouncing around from guy to guy.
Yep.
And
yeah. Oh my God.
That's what I mean. Like
I thought you liked Ted. Well, now I like you.
after 2 hours, by the way, maybe not even 2 hours, it's like, well, I fell in love with this one, but now I'm going to go with that one.
There was no love. From a girl's point of view, she just wanted to get screwed. That's what she was looking for. That's why she went there. That's all she wanted. And then the other girl had no intention of doing that. She was more innocent. She wanted to leave. Why? Okay, even though she's not like that, but why would you want to leave? I wouldn't want to leave into the scary dark night, being a girl, into the woods, when it was pouring rain. I know I would have just slept on the floor somewhere. I would have just been like, okay, my sister's a slut. She can go upstairs and screw whoever. But I'm going to go sleep on the floor on a blanket by myself. I would not go into the dark by myself in the night and go for a long bike ride by myself in the pouring rain. I mean, I would not do that. I cannot believe she did that. But
and Jason had enough strength.
Girl,
sorry, I thought you were done. Go ahead.
No, go ahead because I don't.
I was say Jason had enough strength to not only stab her with something, but she flew against the house and got like stuck to the side of the building.
Jason in this. Jason in
what
this.
the hell was he doing up there? Why was he on the outside of the house to begin with?
Oh, he's
when he killed the other.
Yeah, he's got teleport ability.
He's a fucking ninja. This guy.
He's in the basement. He's in the attic. He's a
ninja. He's absolutely a ninja because there's a scene, the scene where the friend Crispin Glover is high as a kite and he's watching the stag film on the reel, right? And he's watching it on the screen and he gets up and he goes around. He's looking at the screen. He gets up, turns around, leans against the screen. Jason from behind the screen stabs him in the back of the head. He falls down and rips the screen with a knife. He was just looking at the screen. How did a 6'5", smelly, lumbering person sneak behind the screen? How did that happen? He's everywhere. And how did he get?
Wow, Chris,
it's crazy.
You really hit on something. There is a hygiene issue with Jason, where you don't only see him come around, you smell him in like I would think at least a 20-yard radius.
Sure. Ray, I think
You
Ray,
should. He's been rotting under the lake for years.
and Ray, you're forgetting he smells like a hospital too.
Yeah.
That's dead giveaway, man.
Honestly, and Jay, you can relate. That is a hospital smell you will never get out of your nose. I can close my eyes and smell hospital right now.
I worked at a nursing home, and I can smell an old person a mile away.
So he killed Crispin Glover.
Showmanship.
Why would he go outside and climb up
His craft.
Like
He's showing his craft.
Okay? He's a tree frog, and he grabs the girl out of the window when she's looking. Where's my sister? Why are those bikes still there? I don't get it. He smashes through the window because he's just a tree frog out, and he grabs her and throws her on the ground when he could have just, after killing Crispin Glover, which he did, walk up the stairs and she was right there. But why did he go outside, climb up the side of the house to grab her from the side of the window? I was like...
I'll give you this, and maybe Ray and Jay, can back me up. You know what's scarier than a serial killer that comes back from the dead and smells like a hospital? You know what's scarier than that? A guy backpacking through the woods that also knows everything about serial killers and lives in a tent.
and
why would
that actor? I never trusted that actor, and I think he had played a real bad guy in another movie or TV show. Because as soon as he pops up, I'm like, he's going to kill somebody. Because I saw him do something like this. It's the same with the guy that almost raped Edith. Remember that episode of All in the Family?
Yep.
I would see him in other TV shows and say, no. I don't trust him. He's playing a priest. He can't do that. Something bad's going to happen. Yep. His career was ruined because of that. And I feel the same thing with this guy. I don't know what it was, but I see him. I'm like, oh, get away from this guy.
Yeah, he's just living in the woods. And
but I like,
he's
guys,
like, what the hell? Where is this guy?
Before you get to that, Melanie, how is it that no red flags go off? You picked up a hitchhiker. He helped you with your car. Okay, he wasn't hitchhiking, but you gave him a ride, and then one of the first questions he asks, "What about kids? Are there any kids around?" Like when he starts, if an adult man that's going to backpack a gun and a machete, he's got a couple things. He starts asking about people, then specifically narrows it down to what about kids? Are there any kids in the area? Like, whoa.
Do you ever spend time in a Turkish prison?
Okay. I've got a timing flaw with that. Okay, so you guys...
You have a flaw? There's a flaw in this movie? Really?
Okay,
You're sure about that?
Bunch, but
all right.
Yeah.
Just
Rob talks to Trish about his sister Sandra, who is a victim of part 2, okay? You guys got to remember that this entire freaking series up until this point, 1 not included, but 2, which one are we on? 4?
4. Yeah.
2 to 4 was supposed to be taking place over a weekend.
You're on 2 wines.
Yeah, 2 wines.
Sorry. I'm not done yet, but I don't have a very high tolerance. So basically that 2 to 4 is taking over the place of 1 weekend. That's it. 2 days.
Wow.
So in 2 days, how does he know that his sister was killed? Who killed her? Where he's from? All this information, like newspaper clippings of Jason, and he's got all of his backpacks and his tent and his hunting tools, and he's out there like hunting him. He's got supplies. I don't understand that. Like,
I know why.
Within 2 days,
he was using that computer.
Nice.
There is no computer back then unless you had the Lisa, which was $26,000.
Yeah.
Parts 2, 3, and 4 are all supposed to take place in the course of 5 days.
Wow.
Friday the 13th, 2, 3, and 4. 5 days, killing 34 people.
He's a busy man. Leave him alone. He's doing his best.
And why is he so big?
By the way, you said,
why wouldn't he just be a skeleton?
Yeah.
Like with some.
You said 5. Well, yeah, that's a whole other
He's
thing.
muscular.
But you said 5 days. You think at one point he says, "Why are these kids still coming? I need a break. I would love a vacation right now, and yet there's a house full of kids. I got to go back to
I
work."
was hoping to just have a quiet
I just
day.
got to get rid of these horny teenagers.
I think these teenagers particularly should be murdered, not because they're horny, because they're annoying. They were all horrible. How does Crispin Glover ever get with anyone as weird as he is? I mean, I'm all for...
Okay, I think he's cute.
He's not cute. He's annoying. He's not...
I think he's attractive in that movie.
No,
I do. I think he's attractive looking.
He's the cutest one, but my God.
Yes, he is. But Teddy, who thinks he's... Oh, come give Teddy Bear a kiss. Obviously, that line's not working.
Mm-hmm.
Stop asking people to come give Teddy Bear a kiss. How can he be the person who's giving him sexual advice?
Well,
how can that happen?
Well, I mean, I would like to know what's in the pot, because how could anybody be horny looking at that stag film? You have to be toasted. You got to be toasted to look at that and go, oh man. And he walks up to the screen and says, "You want to give Teddy Bear a kiss?"
So, what's her face? Judy. What's her name? Judy.
Dench. No, that's not her.
What the hell is her name? Judy Aronson. She's great. Okay, she was in Weird Science.
Yes,
I'm going to show you. This is a problem that I've always had. Okay, have you ever seen her death scene?
Yes.
I can't recall it.
Okay. Yeah. What the hell is with this face?
Oh, with the tongue?
Bring it up a little closer.
The tongue?
Oh my God.
That's just bad acting.
Yeah. Well, no, that's a bad mannequin. Right?
No, because she used...
No, that's her.
You think?
Yeah.
No,
that's her.
Wow.
But this, I said, what in the hell? And her freaking faces.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a doll, I think.
Well, that's clearly
Now, I watched the 8-hour documentary of... you did too,
coming
right?
in from underneath the dock.
It's
yeah.
fantastic. It might have been 10 hours.
Yeah, it's long.
Ted White was I love this. Go ahead, Chris. Yep.
Ted White was going to walk off the set because they kept putting that actress in that lake, and it was freezing. And
that's right. She's the one that died in the lake.
Yeah.
And
he said, if you don't get her out of this lake, I'm out of here, because this is absolutely cruel. So she's probably freezing, and that's the best face she could possibly make, which goes to show you, the quality of this movie. And
all right.
Again, it's
so
just.
I take back the bad acting thing. I just meant that was just a weird moment. Yeah.
No, call it like it is. It's not a great shot, but if you had the money, if these movies are made cheap, they're made on the cheap. All horror movies are mostly made on the cheap. So if you really cared, you just do it in post in a warm pool at night. But they don't have the money for that. They have to go where they are, and they're going in this lake, and they're freezing their...
And it's probably...
Whatever appropriate genitalia you have off in order to get the shot. And that's not okay. And these people are put in horrible conditions because it's so cheap.
And it's probably November... It's probably in the off-season.
December. It was December, and this is why I have Joseph Zito seemed to be really hard to work with, because Ted White, who was Jason, there was a big conflict between them two. They hated each other, and it got worse because, as you were saying, Chris, they didn't get along at all, and it got worse when White actually demanded that Zito get Judy Anderson out of the freezing December lake.
Right.
She was freezing, and these shots for these skinny dipping scenes took hours, and he wanted to get her out of the lake to warm up between the shots, and Zito refused to do it. And so then Ted White was like, well, whatever, I'm not going to act again. If you're not going to get her out of the lake, I'm refusing to act. You're not going to have a Jason. Get her out of the lake. She caught hypothermia because of Zito, because he would not get her out of that lake. And another thing that he did was these scenes took hours, and instead of having a small closed off crew and a small set, which would have been more comfortable for somebody that had to be nude for hours, he refused to do that because he knew it would take longer. So he was like, no, you're going to have to be naked for hours in the freezing cold by yourself, to do these scenes. And she did. She got hypothermia. She ended up in the hospital because of this director.
Right.
And White also called Corey Feldman the meanest little goddamn kid he had ever had to deal with. Yep. He said he acted out of frustration with him during the scene because at the end, when Jason reaches through the broken window and pulls Tommy out of the window, he said they had a time set up when they were going to do that. And I guess what he wanted to do, because he hated Tommy, he hated Corey Feldman. He was waiting, and he wanted to make Corey Feldman feel like something had gone wrong with the scene and let his guard down, and he reached the window and just grabbed him at the time to purposely scare the shit out of him because he's been such an asshole the entire film. And then Corey Feldman said the reason why he was acting up was because he was getting treated very poorly from Joseph Zito. And he said, so when he was actually trying to pretend at one of the last scenes where he was hacking Jason up with a machete, which was, by the way, rice bags on the ground, he was pretending that it was Joseph Zito.
Nice. I will say this. Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit about the Last Confrontation, because Jason comes by, basically massacres the teenagers that, well, deserve to be massacred. Like, they're all just fodder. They're just like cannon fodder before they get to Corey Feldman and his family. They just slow him down a little bit. What was their point anyway? When we do finally get to the final confrontation in Corey Feldman's house, there are some shots in that. Now, this movie it's not a good movie. I didn't say I didn't like it. It's not a good movie in any way, shape, manner, or form. However, there are scenes when the woman comes back into, the daughter comes back into the house, and she's nailing the door shut, and she's locking the windows. And in your head, I'm watching that going, well, he's just going to break through the window. Like,
Right.
he's just,
Haven't you seen the other
it's
movies?
just glass. But not only does he break through the window, he throws like something through the entire bay window. Like the wall collapses. And I just thought that was neat, because the obvious choice would be smash through the door because he's too strong, or go through the little windows. But no, it demolishes an entire side of the house to get into the house. And I thought that was a neat choice. And there was also, again, this movie is not necessarily, shall we say, subtle in any way, shape, or form. However, there was a point where we don't know where Jason is, and there's no music cue, like a Jaws cue, you know? Like, the shark is really scary when there's no music cue. And he just suddenly is like, you think something's over, and he's just in the doorway. And I can't remember where that is, but it's like a neat shot because it's subtle. It's actually kind of not jump scary, but ominous, which this movie is not subtle at all. But it was a subtle moment, which I enjoyed. Can somebody please tell me, since we're getting here towards like the end of the film, because look, here's what happens. Jason gets out. Jason kills a bunch of people. Jason finally gets to our heroes at the end. That's it. So why did Tommy Jarvis shave his head? And I gotta tell you,
look like young Jason.
But why?
He wanted to confuse Jason
Okay.
by looking like Jason as a
He saw
child.
the newspaper clippings.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So next question, and Melanie, I'm sorry, unless there's something you want to tell me, you can't be part of this conversation. Guys, when you grow your beard too much, unless Melanie, you want to chime in, if you grow your beard a lot and then you suddenly have to shave it, right? How many razors do you go through when just this?
Oh, yeah.
Right, this kid's taking a Bic to long hair. One Bic. One Bic. He's like, oh yeah, I got this.
That's a good.
I totally got this.
No.
Like, I gotta
You
use.
need an electric shaver.
Yeah, like when I was out with COVID, I didn't shave for like a week. I used 2 razors because I don't get expensive razors. I'm too cheap. But it's like, I'm tearing up my face. And this kid's got perfectly shaved in like what? 2 minutes? 2 minutes.
They left a couple patches.
Oh, just in case.
Yeah, to show that it was, just a couple patches.
And
that's a good point. I have another question before we wrap things up, too. What was with the mom? I didn't care. And then all of a sudden she wasn't there. And I never once worried about the mother. Was she a necessary part of this story for some reason?
she was not.
Because she seemed to disappear and it meant nothing to me.
Yep.
They had an alternate ending. Jay, do you know about that?
No, I was just going to say they showed her like die, and I put my finger quotes up for those that are just listening on audio, because she goes, and that's it.
Yeah, it wasn't a big
No,
deal
they didn't
or
show it
anything.
at all. There was zero, like anything. Like, you don't know how she died. It was just
I think
a gasping.
she should meet her end just because she served orange juice at dinner. There's a picture of orange juice at dinner. Like, what's
Clearly a breakfast beverage.
wrong
That's
with
it.
You deserve.
So, Trish, there was an alternate ending where Trish walked upstairs and saw her mom in the bathtub and she was dead, and she tried to pick her up. and her eyes were all white, and Jason came behind and killed Trish. Or something like that. Wow. So there was some sort of alternate ending. They cut it. They cut out the scene.
Right, this movie is way too long. This movie's way too long. You definitely need to edit some stuff out because it's 91 minutes.
Way too
with
long.
5 minutes of recap.
And by the way, half of it was a teenage sex comedy. That's it. Half of it.
Can I say?
I mean, they set up that whole, the twins and the two guys trying to get laid and the smoking the pot and the dancing, like all of that had nothing to do with any of the horror.
I'm glad you brought that up, Ray, because I have in my notes, and again, this comes from me just watching the Scream Greats video of Tom Savini, where I knew the end of this movie because they did it shot for shot. The rest of this, the middle section, the middle third of this movie is boring. It's boring. There's nothing going on. Luckily, it's only 91 minutes because there's nothing going on.
Who's sleeping with who? And blah blah blah.
And I'll tell you this too. Like once you got to I saw the runtime at about 70 minutes, and I'm like, there's only 20 minutes left, and they weren't even close to wrapping it up. And I'm like, I don't remember. They're going to wrap this up in 20 minutes? Holy shit, they did. Oh my god, it's done.
Yeah, how about
crazy? We weren't even close.
Robbie,
we're done.
How about Robbie? When they go down the basement. By the way, Jason knows to be conveniently in the basement
because he's a ninja
to wait for them. Right. But they're going to be in the basement. They're going to go down and check out the basement. So
he's got psychic powers as well.
But Robbie's he's dealing with Jason. Jason comes around the corner and the whole time as she's running away is. He's killing me. He's killing me. He's yelling, he's killing me. But you have enough vocal strength and lung capacity to still be yelling, he's killing me. And it's well,
right.
I don't know. You're still alive to me.
I just need everyone to know that he's killing me. I'm being stabbed a lot.
That was taken from a real life story, which is kind of creepy, but that was taken from a real life story that I forgot. I didn't write it down, but somebody was being killed, murdered, and they were saying that, and the producer saw that and wanted to put that in there and how he was saying that.
All right.
Well, not good for entertainment purposes.
Yeah. Put it in for entertainment.
Bad story, but don't put that in the movie.
I would have been better for
I've got something about Crispin Glover's dance.
Yes.
That's literally the freaking way he actually danced in clubs. That's him dancing. That's how he really danced.
That's unfortunate.
And he was actually dancing to AC/DC Back in Black. And then they redid it and they edited it over and they wanted to do Love is a Lie by White Lion for some weird reason.
The music
was that the song? Was White Lion a thing in '84?
It wasn't White Lion. It was Love is a Lie by Lion. So there's some other group.
Oh, Love is Alive. That's right. Yeah.
I love the when
Mike Tramp doesn't sound anything like.
Yeah, no.
Right?
when they're trying to get romantic, I swear to God, these people, it's such an anachronism. They were putting old timey music on for mood music.
How about this?
Oh my God,
Yes.
and the freaking 1920s or something. I'm I would not want to dance to that, and I would not want to watch that. Poor twin girl that was stuck there while her sister was having sex with somebody. Why would she want to watch somebody dancing around with no music and no sound with these long droopy boobs? And the guy thought it was so funny because he was smoking pot. And she's just sitting there miserable. Why would she want to listen to that? I don't understand that.
It's a bad party. Jay, let's hit it.
It's time now for Final Judgment. Are you ready to rubber stamp this bitch? Here's the Final Judgment.
All right, now it's time for Final Judgment. Up until this point, this has all been opinion. But now opinion becomes fact, and we set in stone the answer to the question, does this movie stand the test of time? And we will start with Melanie.
Okay, because I have to do this. So, do you know that there was originally a scene cut where Jason was supposed to be fondling the breast of Trish?
Wow. Did not know that.
And they cut it out because they said that it made him too human.
Okay.
So thank God, that was pretty stupid.
Yep.
And then Kimberly Beck, which was Trish, had a stalker the entire time that she was filming this. And then as soon as they stopped production, it they went away, which I thought was kind of creepy. So Oh, and this was kind of cute. She also took Tommy, which is Corey Feldman, out trick-or-treating because he was so little. And it was also the first day of filming was October 31st. And of 1983 of April. And she took him out trick-or-treating to keep him away from all the naked scenes.
Except, how about him in the bedroom going, like losing his mind?
I know.
What, like,
with no glasses, and he obviously needed glasses to see, and it was a distance, but whatever.
Yeah.
So also sometimes I just need to get away, and I just want to go to a cabin, and I want to go in the woods, and I just want to like not have a phone on, not listen to any people. I just want to be in the middle of the woods and be away from everybody. And so whenever I've gone on vacation lately, I've just drive a couple hours away and just gone into the middle of the woods and go into Blue River Mountains.
And now we know.
yeah. Everybody else too.
So, but while we were there, we had to watch. I was like, we have to watch Friday the 13th, and my kids were like, no way, we're in a cabin in the middle of the woods. I'm like, perfect timing to watch Friday the 13th. So we watched the new Friday the 13th with Jared Padalecki. Sorry. So we had to watch that while we were at our cabin, and I just wanted to say
I really
that
like that one, by the way.
I do too. I love it.
Critics didn't like it. I thought it was fantastic, and I thought that was one of the better Jasons.
I needed a
Yeah,
second
it was
viewing
really-
on that because here's my problem that I had with it real quick. I didn't like that I got to know 6 or 7 people for about 20 solid minutes, to have them, most of them just die. And then that's when I see the name Friday the 13th appear on the screen. So like a 20-minute cold open to like, I don't say fall in love, but like, you get to know these people only to say, hey, no, we're done with them. It's like, wait a minute, now I got to go meet new people for the next, It
was a long
so that was
open.
weird.
Yeah.
So it took me, I was
They
not
had
ready
to
for
die,
that.
Jason, because they were having sex and they were smoking pot.
No,
They had to
but
die.
like,
That's
I
how
thought
the
these
thing
were
goes.
the
It's leading
people
to
that were
scream.
going to die like throughout the film, not, okay, now we have to meet 6,
Clever.
7 other new people. And it's like,
Yeah.
I just met these other guys. Like, so it took me a while.
You guys
Like,
don't know Jared Padalecki. I love Jared Padalecki. He's one of my favorite actors in the world. And Jensen Ackles, they're both in Supernatural, which is one of my favorite things. But the film opened on Friday the 13th, April 1984. But this is the last of the films in the series that started immediately where the last film ended off. If you remember that, like after part 4, it was just like years later. It wasn't like 2, 3, and 4 were basically like, it was the next day. And so the film actually takes place Sunday the 15th and beyond, making it the second one not to take place on Friday the 13th at all. Okay, so I love this movie, so I can't see how it doesn't hold up because they've made remakes, obviously, a billion times since this movie. And to me, this is like classic horror. Like, if you think of Friday the 13th, like, this is the classic. You can't... This is what made so many movies and so many spin-offs for so many different generations of Friday the 13th. And if you have sex, you die. And if you do this, you die. Like, this is where it all stemmed from. This is where it all came from. So I 100% think it holds up. Does the movie, is it really dated? Yeah. Is the special effects dated? Yeah. Does it look super old and are people dressed from like the 70s or 60s? Yeah. But, yeah, I can't understand how it wouldn't hold up because they're making remakes. If you like horror, you would never not have Friday the 13th in your collection of DVDs. If this came out today, I can't understand how somebody would not run to go see it. Yeah, I think it holds up, but is it super dated and was it a bad movie? Yeah, it was, but it's amazing and I love it.
All right.
So,
Super.
yeah.
I'm going to go quick because I think we have the same sentiment. I think it holds up under the auspices that it was bad then and it's still bad now. I mean, it didn't get better with age. It was never good to begin with. It's a cheaply made horror movie that is meant for cheap thrills. It's boring in the middle. It doesn't make any sense. But I've got a soft spot for it. You know what I mean? It's not bad like 5 or 7 or 8. 7 or 8.
5 and 8. 5 and 8.
5 and 8. 5 and 8. Like, those are just not good, for a lot of reasons. But like I said, it was never supposed to be good. But I think it You know what I mean? If you're into horror, you kind of have to see it. So in that regard, you know what I mean? It's not a good movie, but it holds up for what it is. And so I would say yes. There are worse things out. Like Walking Dead is gorier than this movie. So you know what I mean? The standards have changed, but I'd say it holds up. So Jay or Ray?
All right. So, yeah, it holds up. I mean, it's one of those things. It holds up because it's, it's part of a whole thing that like Paramount was going to make them like every year until they caught flack. And that's kind of why they were turning this into the final chapter. But they were catching so much flack, and that's why they tried to do that. But the fans were like pissed, like especially when they brought back Nobody, as Jason in part 5. But it holds up because the series. If they came out with a brand new one tomorrow, it would sell very well. And actually, I was disappointed that they never came out with more Freddy versus Jason type movies, just because that sold so well. Because people like it, and there's a reason people like it. It keeps coming back every time you go to the Spirit Halloween store, who is not a sponsor. They have like animatronics or something, or there you go, yeah. No, but like I'm saying, like they have still, they'll bring out Jason or something, like with this kill. When I watched it last night, I wasn't getting all warm and fuzzy like I normally would, when I first watched it. I don't know if it's because I seen it so many times growing up or whatever. So it's coming, and it just didn't feel as exciting. Sure. It was, I agree with you. It was a little more on the dull side. I would prefer 6. 7's fun because it's like Jason versus Carrie, even though it's not Carrie. It's somebody with telekinesis. So.
And burning.
That's right. He's going to show you how to die. So, well, we'll leave it at that. It holds up. All right. And all right, Ray.
All right. I think that, they started with a trilogy and they needed to end it. I like the trilogy. I like 1, 2, and 3 because they're all different. He's got different. Well, he's not even in the first one, really, until the end as a child. It's his mom. Spoiler alert. And then he's wearing the bag in the second one. He finally finds the mask in the third one. And that could have wrapped up the series, I suppose. And then somebody said, we're making money on this. We got to move forward. Let's do this one. I think it was lazy for a fourth movie that should have turned, it's not like they didn't put sequels out after that, but it should have turned this into another direction. And I think Tommy could have had a bigger role in the sequels if they had done it right. There wasn't enough Tommy in 4. And it really, forget the teenagers, kill them quickly, whatever. We had too much storyline with the teenage or the young adults and not enough of Tommy and his sister. I thought Corey Feldman should have played a bigger part. The last 5-10 minutes should have been stretched out to 20 or 30 minutes, really. It was a great kill. Tom Savini is awesome, so that was cool. But I think they could have pumped it up a little bit more to send it in a different direction. And don't get me wrong, they did fine. They don't need my advice. They knew what they were doing on some of them. But there's probably a good reason why 4 turned into 5, which really sucked. And then they had to go back to the drawing board and say, we're not doing this right. We failed on 4, that we had such a horrible sequel with 5, and let's get back to it. 6 is really where it started, ramping up the, up in the ante and ramping up the whole storyline. So I don't think it really holds up anymore. Okay. If you're into the whole grand scheme of things, if you're watching the 10-hour documentary, if you're a fan, I don't think 4 holds up as much as it should have.
Cool.
So,
love it. Yeah.
That's it.
All right.
He's spoken. Boom. Mic drop. Beer drop.
I have spoken.
Explosion. I spoken. Explosion.
Well, that was our show. I would like to thank Ray Auger for joining us today. And once again, remind everybody about your podcast.
It's a New England Legends podcast. That's a lot of fun with Jeff Belanger. And then Don't Quit Your Day Job, about local cover bands and the people who are behind the scenes doing the singing and all that. And you can find that wherever you get your podcasts.
All right. And I put links in the description. So anybody who's listening to this can just arrow down and click on those if you want to check them out. And I'd also like to thank Steve Lavoie for doing our intro. He does a personalized intro every week. So thank you, Steve, man. That's a big deal. And Draco and the Malfoys for our amazing theme song. And we'd like everybody, please rate, review, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That'd be huge. We need to get our show out there for more people to listen and watch. So once again, movies may not age like fine wine, but we drink them anyway. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Peace.
Chirping about